Rivals Workshop is a very expansive game. With hundreds of characters and stages, there's nearly limitless possibilities. However, the scope of the game creates quite a few blind spots. Beneath the surface, there's quite a few interesting things that have seeped into the cracks. I've compiled a Workshop Iceberg to share some of these unique obscurities with you, so sit back as we take a deep dive into the abyss. Here in the surface layer, the information presented is fairly common knowledge. However, for those not familiar with the game at all, they can be somewhat interesting oddities. Golden Ronald. Starting off the surface, Golden Ronald is the bonus mode for Ronald, likely based on a popular Ronald edit for the Mugen incarnation of the character. He's accessible through the last 4 palettes of Ronald. This palette makes significant changes such as healing, auto-filling super meter, access to every abyss room, and a unique death animation. Due to his popularity, other characters have also adopted a golden or boss mode occasionally, similar to how Ronald's works. 100% accurate. 100% accurate refers to an early Workshop trend of characters with the moniker 100% accurate. These characters are often based on the works of Terminal Montage and feature absurd versions of various Smash characters. This started with Rad Robbie's 100% accurate Fox, but also expanded to others such as 200% Falco, 100% Wolf, 100% Cloud, and many, many more. Kirby compatibility. The character Kirby has a very interesting ability to inhale opponents, just like the Smash version. However, developers can add support for Kirby hats in one of 2 ways. They can set a pre-existing ability to their character, or code an entirely new one. There's hundreds of them on the Workshop, so try your favorite characters and see what happens. Sandbert. Sandbert was a hastily thrown together joke character introduced in the first Rivals Direct. They were originally announced to be an air fighter based on sand. However, this was an April Fool's joke, and Sandbert was instead relegated to an Easter egg requiring use of the Master Hand glitch. However, he also became the basic sample character for Workshop support. Because of him becoming the default template, many old characters feature moves from Sandbert and even leftover Bert animations. Most notably is the Sandbert Dare, noted by its broken spike and ABSA particles. Chris Down Special. Chris by Equinox is a very straightforward character. However, this makes some more complex moves stick out in the kit. The most infamous of which is Chris's down special Courage, that makes him heavier and adds damage to his attacks. The phrase, "What does down special do?" has become a running gag in the community due to how confused people were and still are regarding the usage of this move. Joy-Con Drift. Joy-Con by Senior Perez is a bizarre duo character with powerful moves. However, they're also hiding a cheeky Easter egg. If left alone for long enough, they'll slowly inch away. This is an obvious reference to the issue that plagues many Switch owners, where their sticks get stuck drifting in one direction. Guajua. Guajua was the first character developed specifically for Workshop. Animated by Danny Arrow and coded by Trevor Youngblood, Guajua was advertised as the poster child for complex Workshop characters. However, she is often seen as stronger than most of Workshop due to her incredible survivability and kill power tied together with great speed. As such, she's been legal in much fewer events compared to the other Workshop staples. Curated Collection. The Curated Collection is a set of characters agreed on by a council of community members to be a baseline for tournament play. It was formed in early 2020 after the success of Frostbite and Genesis. This list included a lot of early Workshop staples like Kirby and Palm, among many others. While the idea of reaching it is seen as an honor, due to the amount of work involved and how infrequently it actually moves, additions to Curated were quite scarce. In recent months, it has halted almost entirely, with an official announcement of its discontinuation happening April of 2021. Adam's Picks. Similar to Curated, Adam's Picks was a section of mods picked by Rivals content creator Adam Kara. There wasn't any real goal here, just stuff that Adam found fun or interesting. However, the program did eventually come to an end, likely due to the facts that Adam got busy and that the tag is lost every time a character is updated. Maybe it'll return one day, but not today. Slime Puffin Tomo Skin. To some of you this may be a little more obscure, but I'm putting it up here because of how recent it is. Recently, there was an invitational tournament hosted by Sparks21 called Draft Team Takeover. For this event, the invited players drafted teams from a pool of around 100 characters. Some developers even got on board, providing players with unique colors, some with their own visual effects. However, by far the craziest was Slime Puffin's Tomo skin, being practically their own Echo Fighter based on the Dragon Quest slime. While all frame data was the same, the costume was filled with references to Dragon Quest and Slime Puffin as well. It's such an awesome costume, and it's a really cool display of developer appreciation. Now that we've established the surface layer, it's time to talk about things you may have heard of, but might not know a lot about. Strap in, because this is where things get interesting. Ability mixing. As previously mentioned, Kirby can inhale opponents and gain abilities, just like in the Kirby series. However, a funny glitch exists in doubles and free-for-alls. You see, Kirby actually keeps the code for custom abilities even when the ability isn't on, meaning that picking up a second ability causes hilarious unintended effects. For example, Cactar's ability causes Kirby to fire a barrage of needles. Combining this with a projectile ability like Obamium's or Annoying Dogs leads to this barrage of hit-stun projectiles. While this doesn't work with base cast abilities, any 2 to 3 workshop abilities will work, so feel free to experiment. Master Chief. Master Chief is probably one of the most well-known and notable cancelled characters. After the release of Chris, a teaser for Master Chief was posted. However, nothing truly came of this project, and it was quietly cancelled. There really isn't too much to this one, it's just memorable for being one of the earliest scrapped characters to show major promise. Pirate Trummel. Speaking of scrapped content, Trummel 1 had a pirate outfit that gave Trummel a pirate hat, a cutlass, and gave Alto an eye patch. It also changed the rain clouds to treasure chests. This costume was incredibly cool, but unfortunately did not make the cut for Trummel 2. Still, it's a fun option for tormenting your friends with the original Trummel. Versus Psy. Versus Psy was a challenge from Rivals creator Psy to create a character faster than they could. The event lasted around 3 weeks, as Psy conceptualized various character concepts, including the Gatekeeper Lotsa, the mysterious Siri, and eventually the one that got released, Saji Sakamoto. This period led to the release of a bunch of new characters, including Scary Ami, Siren, Prismo, and of course, Moji Bake. We'll come back to him later. As for the unreleased side characters, as much as I'd hope to see them released in the future, I think they're a bit lower on Psy's list of priorities. Abyss Rune Buddy. Abyss Runes are modifiers that provide unique changes to characters, ranging from stat buffs to adding brand new moves. In the Definitive Edition patch, they were added for workshop characters as well. However, a solution did exist before this. Modder Supersonic created a buddy that allows the use of Abyss Runes on workshop characters. While this is now mostly obsolete, some characters still have runes exclusive to the buddy, and the buddy did have randomized settings to allow you to play with random runes. Car from Rocket League. Car from Rocket League, also known as Octane, is a recurring joke not just in the workshop community, but in the Rivals community as a whole. The joke was started by content creator AlphaRad when the last DLC character was revealed to be a guest, leading to wild speculation. Curiously, 2 major attempts to make the car went silent on 2 occasions. One was a recruitment by AlphaRad to get a team together to make the car, that sadly went silent. The most curious attempt was when Dan Fernacey jokingly reached out on Twitter, leading to an actual response from Psyonix, where they agreed to discuss it further. Dan did later confirm, though, that these talks led nowhere. Will we ever see this car? Who knows. Ash is a dev's character. Chowco Cartoons' Ash is widely seen as one of the early workshop staples of the game. But, did you know that the character isn't actually owned by Chowco? The character actually belongs to Rivals character designer Andy Ayala, who is the namesake of the bunny who created Eliana's mech, and is featured as an alternate costume for Eliana. Ash isn't tied to Rivals in any way, but it's a cool way to see a similar design fit in the world of Rivals. Geek. When talking about specific workshop developers, one that often gets brought up a lot is Geek. Geek is a beloved workshop creator known for his work with Molo, Michaelik, Amarel, and most recently, Sin. However, did you know that Geek joined the dev team in mid-2020? He's been in charge of adding new workshop features and oversaw the launch of stage scripting, abyss runes, character skins, and more. It's likely Workshop would not be at the level it is without his help. Bird Guy and Arkin. Bird Guy's development history is actually quite interesting. Initially, there was only Gorami's Arkin, a Pokemon designed around throwing and controlling rocks with ancient power, and trying to avoid falling to Defeatist. This character was incredibly popular in early Workshop, and was even considered for Genesis 7. However, copyrighted characters were not allowed for the event. Bird Guy was made as a way to remedy this, redoing all of Arkin's sprites in 2 days. The rest is history. In recent months, Bird Guy has changed drastically from Arkin, becoming lighter and faster, while dropping the Defeatist mechanic altogether. They also have some very different normals too. Jigglypuff. Rivals is known for its frantic and crazy gameplay. Part of this is due to the absence of common mechanics that would slow the game down, like shields and ledges. Obviously, that would make a slow and methodical character significantly less viable. Oh. Yeah, Jigglypuff by Turpix has a built-in ledge grab, probably one of the best kept secret character gimmicks. While this may just seem like silly trivia, the fact that the move breaks the golden rule of rivals is worth mentioning to me. Tomat. I'm not going to go too much into this because I have a whole other video on this subject, but for those who want a reminder, here's the gist. Tomat was a character locked behind a rather lengthy ARG. It was put together in a really short amount of time and took nearly a week to solve. This involved finding a code in a buddy, finding codes hidden in an image, finding a chain of links leading to a stage, and activating a secret room in the stage to access its final step. Gameplay-wise, Tomat is very similar to Mojibake, but with the ability to manipulate the screen to throw static and teleport around. Rezo Force Jambert. Rezo Force Jambert is a track that plays on the stage The Sandbox. It is quite interesting, as it is a song composed by Flashy Goodness, and is an original composition, yet is not on the OST and does not have any in-game implementation other than the workshop stage. The same is true for Guajwa's theme, the Bamboo Guardian, which plays exclusively on Bamboo Lodge. I find Jambert to be more interesting, because there's actually a second variant for last round situations called the Full Extent of the Jam Mix. Will these songs ever be officially released in any capacity? Who knows? You can always get them from the stage files, though. Reikenburn. Reikenburn is one of the more popular grapplers on Workshop, stacking smoke to pile on big damage. However, what you may or may not know about Harbage's Buffalo is the unique development history. You see, Reikenburn was never intended to be a character at all, but rather a unique boss enemy to close out the currently in development Rivals of Aether Adventure mode. However, as the kit ended up being developed, the moveset ended up blending into a full character. Now the question remains as to whether when the adventure mode releases, if Reikenburn will still be waiting for us at the end. Voice acting. An interesting part of Workshop has been experimentation with voice acting. And not just voice clips from other games, but actual hired voice actors and actresses. Earlier versions of Palm used digitized voices for her singing and shouting attacks. Abyss Hime also has some unique voice acting, and Penny has fully voice-acted codec calls with Penny, Forza, Hime, and even Aegis all having voice acting. Officially licensed characters. Some Workshop characters have been made with the blessing of the original creator, even if said creator was never even involved with the project. For example, Yo-Yo in Genesis 7 was allowed due to permission by Hune's Dojo to use the character. More interestingly is the case of Saffron, a character not only allowed by Eden Dev, but also promoted and endorsed by them as well. It's really interesting to see such support in an unofficial medium like Workshop, and I hope it continues. Auto Codec. Everyone has seen Tremel and Alto's codecs by now, but did you know that Auto 1 had codecs as well? These were very interesting, as unlike the original Tremel codecs, these were not customizable, and instead manually added by Muno. These were added based on characters that had bobblehead compatibility, and were quite interesting as it led to a better grasp on the personalities of the characters. Now we've reached the depths of the iceberg. Here, the deepest parts of the safe knowledge reside, with some very interesting things you may have overlooked. Hikaru vs. Ronald War. There has been a friendly feud between Ulster, the creator of Ronald, and Lucru, the creator of Hikaru, for some time. It started when Hikaru became invincible while fighting Ronald, preventing him from winning the match. In retaliation, Ronald got the ability to hit invincible opponents, as well as cause a fake crash. From there, Hikaru got a custom cutscene thing, which Ronald then gained immunity to, and now the game brings up a math question that when answered skips Ronald's cheapy killer mode and makes Hikaru invincible again. It's quite the interesting piece of Rivals history. Bird Guy lore. Bird Guy's lore is often shrouded in mystery. It's confirmed to exist, but nobody knows its true meaning. The original incarnation of Bird Guy simply was stated to be a bird who got DMCA'd and vowed revenge on copyright. The other interpretation was that Bird Guy was a caricature of a known opponent of the Air Armada, whose competent stealth and tactics were mocked by the funny Scream Bird. However, the true answer to Bird Guy's lore is that Bird Guy is the only one that knows it, and it's probably best kept that way. Trummel and Alto original design. Ah yes, Trummel and Alto, one of the most beloved iconic workshop OCs. But did you know that they almost weren't? Initially, Muno's idea was to instead make a Lakitu. They didn't get too far into development until some changes were made to make a big band themed snail instead. The rest is history. Interestingly, the Auto 1 codec for Shy Guy references this too. Yuto sponsors. To my knowledge, Yuto Ichika is one of the only characters to ever have sponsorships and brand deals associated with them. The character had 2 promotions. The first was in her direct trailer, where Chair announced the team was sponsored by Smasher Soap. After that, the Toe Jam and Earl back on the Groove Twitter was promoting the release as well. This is an unprecedented amount of corporate support for a character, so it's pretty cool to see. Mario from Smash Bros. Odds are you've seen this one, but may not know exactly what it is. Mario from Smash Bros. Is one of the most anticipated characters, probably the character with the longest history of development. Their gimmick is that they have every single HUD element from Smash Bros., all of them being functional. For example, you can expect to do crazy damage by landing a limit-boosted Arsene Levin Sword KO punch while the opponent is covered in ink. The possible combinations are limitless, which is probably why the character has been in development hell for so long. Hopefully they will see a release sometime in the near future. Mario Pissing temporary ban. Workshop items can get marked as sensitive, but very rarely do characters get outright unlisted. However, Mario Pissing temporarily suffered that fate. This is likely due to the overall theming of the character, but was a shock to most. Curiously, the ban was lifted later, and the character is currently downloadable as usual. Hollow Knight charms. The knight from Hollow Knight was initially planned to have another gimmick. They would be able to buy charms which would give them various abilities from the game, such as how Shovel Knight and Hat Kid handle this. However, this did get scrapped. The functionality was intended to be added to a buddy, but this also seems to have been scrapped. Mugman. Speaking of interesting scrapped concepts, the character Cuphead almost didn't have his most iconic mechanic. Instead of the switching menu, Cuphead was originally limited to the classic basic and spread shops. Mugman was intended to be an Echo Fighter, wielding 2 different weapons, the Lobber and Charge. This did not come to fruition, and in some ways I'm very glad that we did get the switching system. Merchant Slums Collage. Throughout the history of Workshop, people have made giant roster collages showing a bunch of characters. While there's been some really cool recent collages like SB's collage and the Weekly's collage, the most mysterious one is this collage, which I believe was made by Renlira. It depicts the stage Merchant Slums, with a window into characters that were work in progress at the time. Some managed to release and became Workshop staples like Amber, Otto, and LSD, some were quietly cancelled by Balloon Mario and the Rube crew, and some are slowly but surely seeing progress to this day like Fennec and Thundrex. It's a very interesting sign to see. 6.99. While I intentionally avoided obscure community stuff, as I wanted this to be more noting actual Workshop events, it would be a shame to ignore one of the most unfortunate robberies of all time. In the early days of EXW, tournament rosters were determined by a panel of judges looking over the characters and rating them on balance and presentation. In order to be legal in an event, a character had to receive a rating of 7 out of 10 or higher. Enter Knuckles, a sprite rip that had a pretty solid following, but with a few balance and presentation issues. After a hard vote, Knuckles became the first character to receive a 6.99 out of 10, to much outrage. The system was later worked to a more simple pass and fail system, likely in part to the infamous pain of the 6.99. While it was definitely a weird time, it's funny to look back at how absurd this was. Thwomp Legal. The very first Workshop Weeklies had a very interesting roster. You see, balance wasn't cared about unless a character was overpowered. This allowed the incredibly funny but underpowered Alto and Thwomp to be legal. They didn't see any real play, but it was funny to have them. They were removed a few weeks later with a friendly reminder that you can gentleman to them. While they are gone, they are certainly not forgotten. Mods before Workshop. Before Workshop, Rivals still had the ability to make character and gameplay mods. Through the use of code injection as well as dev mode, modified characters like Galaxy Rano, Dr. Arcane, and the Dan Ideas mod were a reality. However, the scene is still there to this day to some degree. The reason for this is that while character skins are a thing, stage skins are not available in the workshop. As such, people still download them to be able to play them online in base game matches. If you're interested in looking at this part of the community, the Rivals Game Banana page is where to look. Penny Secret Codec. As previously mentioned, Penny has various voiced codecs for different characters. However, there are a few interesting Easter egg codecs as well. The first two are accessible in-game and occur if Penny dies during a codec. The first happens in most instances where this happens.
Penny? Answer me! Penny? Penny!
The second only happens during the Hime codec.
Puppy? Are you okay? Puppy? Puppy!
The third is inaccessible in-game without manually setting it to trigger, but is very funny. It's a dub of the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 opening.
Hello? Hello? I want to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night.
It is a really neat touch. Jazz Jackrabbit Slope. ZT Style is a very interesting user whose mods are more casual, but very impressive technically. These include a recreation of a potentially unlicensed Snoopy game on Commodore 64 to a transforming stage based on several Intellivision games. However, the most cursed thing this side of Swag Mr. Duder is probably the Jazz Jackrabbit stage. On the Aether form lies the one and only working slope in all of Rivals. It's very buggy due to the fact that it was never intended to exist, but characters can walk up and down it just fine. It just goes to show that nearly anything is possible if you put your mind to it. We've reached the darkest part of the water. Here, all harmless knowledge ceases to exist. Everything past this point is all info hazards, ideas so cursed you'll have to relive dark memories or experience the pain of others. I hope you're ready, because there's no turning back now. Cool Boyo. Cool Boyo refers to two infamous, now deleted workshop characters. They were both edits of other characters. The original Cool Boyo Fighters Vess was an edit of Olympia that had a very bizarre list of changes. These included a Sandbert Dare Taunt, Fry Dash Attack, and a different side B. The second Cool Boyo was an edit of Steve. They featured 100% Fox's jab that threw Yuto rocks, Molo's run animation, a weird downstrong that placed Legos, and a weird menu that had a Naruto character as a selectable item. The infamy of this character should be obvious, but let me be clear. The first Cool Boyo was DMCA claimed by Spritestar, and the second was taken down after much protest from the community. The reason? Under no circumstance should you ever re-upload a character without permission. It's not your work. Even if you don't own it, taking credit for it is not okay. Asking permission takes 2 seconds, and if they say no, find something else to do or share it locally. It really isn't that hard. Unfortunately, people still haven't learned, with dozens of re-uploads still persisting. Pac-Man 2. Another curious fighter, Pac-Man 2 is one bizarre case. As a character, he's nothing special, being a Sandbert edit that nerfs the moves and make it look and feel like Pac-Man from the New Adventures. However, what makes Pac-Man 2 so interesting is how he's an absolute magnet for bad edits. If you've been browsing Workshop as long as I have, you're bound to have come across at least one. What part of Pac-Man 2 caused him to bear this curse? Is it his simplicity? Karma for his game? Regardless, it is accurate to his game. Just like he is there, the situation is out of his control. Ghost Pepper. Let's end this character stealing stuff on a lighter note. Ghost Pepper is an edit of Mollo that replaces him with a drawing of the PvZ2 Ghost Pepper. Seeing as the character was likely made with no ill intentions, Geek has actually embraced the legacy of Ghost Pepper, seeing it as just a funny bonus. I definitely don't think you should go and make a character like Ghost Pepper yourself, but it's cool to see such a strange edit when the developer of the original is cool with it. 11.11.19 patch. November 11th, 2019. A day that will go down in infamy. One of the most nightmarish glitches just got added to the game. You see, in this patch, for a short while it was out, uploading a character would cause a slight problem where it would delete your entire sprite folder. Obviously, people who uploaded lost hours of work because of this, and if you didn't have a backup, your character was basically gone. It was an absolute nightmare and was one of the most notorious patches of all time. Dan doesn't want you to jump. Speaking of infamous patches, but on a lighter note, the very first Workshop beta had a bizarre glitch involved where a core system mechanic was missing. Notably, any attempt to jump would instantly crash the game. This was obviously a bit of an issue for those who wanted to play the game with the newly released Quadwa, and was quickly patched. Zetterburn Fire. In the early days of Workshop, people were still trying to get a grasp of things. One of the most common issues was the use of base cast effects for seemingly no reason. However, the most infamous of these was Zetterburn Fire. Because of the infamous Square himself, Sandbert, having fire on forward strong, people got the impression that this was something worth adding to their characters. However, not only was this a useless effect due to not being able to consume fire, but Zetterburn Fire was extremely volatile in early builds of Workshop. Characters would crash the game in certain ults when hit by Zetterburn Fire, seemingly for no reason. This led to all sorts of chaos, with random crashes left and right over an effect that added a mere 5% after an attack. Eventually, the problem was identified by the community and patched by the developers. Blueybot support. Blueybot's taunt displays a random image every time it's used. There's a few pieces of cute art, with the rest being silly memes. However, originally Blueybot was intended to have character compatibility, which was actually implemented. However, the idea was scrapped, and nobody was told about this feature. It was eventually removed entirely, but not before Lukaru added compatibility to Hikaru. Nobody even knew about it besides SB until that point, so it was a shock to see. However, as previously mentioned, this feature has since been removed. Fake Joker 180. Fake Joker 180 is probably one of the most mysterious Workshop creators. Their work is surprisingly technical, but is utterly bizarre in nature. This includes 2 adventure stages with absurdly strong foes, 2 bosses, one of which is designed to take a full half hour to beat, and 2 Workshop skins, with one literally adding a new special move that takes your opponent to a pocket dimension where you cannot die. Who is Fake Joker? Will we ever know their intentions? Overall, Fake Joker is one of Workshop's biggest mystery users. Don't ask questions. Remember when I said we'd come back to Mojibake? This is that time. Hidden in the code of Mojibake is a very bizarre payload. A large block of code is disabled in what appears to be debug variables. Upon enabling it, nothing seems amiss. The game plays as normal until Mojibake gets a kill. At that point, the screen will start to flicker with small distorted stop signs, but they're very subtle and infrequent. Taking another stock will up their frequency of appearance and adds eyes staring at you for continuing. Lastly, upon taking the third stock, something truly terrifying happens. The screen fills with stop signs, with a corrupted voice telling you, "Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answers to." The game then promptly crashes. Apparently this was designed to get a reaction out of Dan Fernacey during the Workshop Wednesday streams, but I'm not sure if this ever happened. I'm not sure why Architos still left this in their character, but it's a strange surprise nonetheless. Triad. Triad was a previously released OC that has since been deleted. They were released in March of 2020, inspired by the old character Don Patch. They were an OC designed to keep the spirit of Don Patch alive, with some of the more egregious specials toned down and some new normals to play with. However, the character did disappear under mysterious circumstances, although with an updated Don Patch coming out of their ashes. Still, whatever happened to Triad will remain a mystery. Sonic outnumbers the base cast. As of writing this, if you are to search for Sonic, you will be met with 24 different Sonics. This is easily the most interpretations of any character besides Sandberg. In fact, the base game only has a mere 14, so Sonic has literally 10 more incarnations. These include, but are not limited to, Muno Sonic, based on Mania Sonic movement and wisps, Rice Sonic, a reimagining of the classic Smash Sonic, Medkay Sonic, a Sonic that has insane homing attack follow-ups, and of course, French Sonic, who is French. There are plenty more though, so check them out if you dare. There are definitely some more interesting ones, such as Classic Sonic and his very, very good wave dash noise. Incompatible items. In any Steam Workshop, there's a page dedicated to telling you what items may be outdated or not working. However, no item should have these issues, and yet 3 characters are left there. These are Zerfy, a weird cheapie with bizarre edits to Sandbert, Linus, a lightweight fighter based on a PNG of Linus Tech Tips, and 100% Ultra Instinct Cosmic Ultra Ronald, which I'll let you figure out for yourself. Why they're here, or what they did, is beyond me, but it certainly is interesting. Auto Anti-Piracy. If you try to re-upload Auto 1, a funny thing occurs. Everything will appear normal at first, but in an actual match, the character will cease to function properly. Auto will be replaced with a PNG of a t-shirt featuring Barry B. Benson and will fly around uncontrollably. The game will then open up a codec where Muno, Trummel, and Alto all tell you that you tried to use the wrong version of the character. It's a minor detail, but a very interesting way to keep copiers out. Play as stages. Another bizarre glitch that has been patched. Occasionally, stages would show up in the character list, for unexplained reasons. The icon would be that of Sandbert, and seem fairly standard at first. However, attempting to play as the stage would just show an X with no moves, and will likely even just flat out crash the game, since obviously playing as a stage was not an intended feature. Although, I do wonder what would happen if a stage with attacks, such as Sin's appearance in the Orbital Anomaly stage, was somehow played as. In theory, would this work? We may never know. At this point, knowledge is at its most obscure. Things are so obscure that they may or may not even be real. Nonetheless, let's take a look at them. Mario 1.5. A hidden gem in early Workshop is Mario 1.3. The character's beyond broken, but features some really fun combo-based gameplay. Later, Smiley the Stickman released Mario 1.4, a variant of Melee Mario that uses custom sprite work. While both of these were well received, the numbering is odd. Will we one day see Mario 1.5? If this happens, it's possible that it would cure hunger and disease, end wars, the world would be a better place because of Mario 1.5. Shovel Knight is a workshop character. When looking at the Rivals roster, there's an obvious outlier, Shovel Knight. He's an indie character in a full suit of armor that fights with a bladed weapon, a far cry from any of the other designs. Could it be possible that he was secretly the first workshop character added to the game? More evidence to this is Workshop's fascination with obscure characters, as Rivals Shovel Knight isn't actually Shovel Knight. The fish head taunt and weapons like the Flario wand, ghost gloves, and toe anchor point to him actually being the Nintendo-exclusive playable character Custom Knight. Why would such a bizarre character be added to the game, if not from a strangely dedicated fan? I rest my case. Workshop is canon. Rivals lore is pretty loose. We know a little bit about the battle with the Abyss, but could it be possible that the story has been left up to the interpretation of Workshop creators? With the 4 characters being added to the base game, at the very least it's possible select characters are canon to some degree. For the others, there is a solution, the Abyss. We know that Shovel Knight and Ori were brought to Rivals from the Abyss. It's entirely possible that other characters could have as well. Even then, it's possible that the Abyss could have just fabricated these fighters to challenge the rest of the world just like in story mode. It's definitely something to consider. Workshop is a job application. Anyone who makes a workshop character can use it as an excellent portfolio piece, and understandably so. However, it can be more than just a portfolio piece. It can be a job application. Not only have people like Geek been hired onto the team to help work on the game, but people have also been brought on to make characters for Rivals and even other games because of their work on Rivals. I'm ending on this one as a note to remember that your work is valuable, not only to those that appreciate it now, but to your future work endeavors as well. And with that, I think it's time we close our deep dive into the escapades of Workshop. I hope you've all enjoyed your time today, learning about all of the crazy stuff Workshop has to offer. There's probably dozens more tidbits like this, so keep your eyes peeled. You'll never know what you might find. If you want to see more of what Workshop has to offer, consider subscribing to this channel for more updates. Until next time.